Hello Star Wars fans and Star Wars action figure fanatics! Steve back here with you, my friends. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you so much, guys, for your continued support over my first 2.5 years here on YouTube. Looks like I'm coming up on my 3rd year anniversary, coming up here in about 3 or 4 months. And I can't even tell you guys the appreciation I have for all the outpouring of genuine kindness. Very cool people I've met over the past 2.5 years. Too many to mention here right now, but you guys have been awesome. Been a wild ride. 2015 was a whirlwind of Star Wars fandom and merchandise. It was absolutely crazy. What a great time to be involved in Star Wars. And it looks like 2016 is going to be more of the same, guys. We got new movie coming at the end of the year. Episode 7 is now in the books. You know, another movie, Episode 8, is coming around the corner as well. So gosh, you know, Star Wars is going to be around for quite some time. So we're going to have plenty to talk about for quite some time, my friends. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Star Wars is alive. And it's a great time to be alive and share all the Star Wars goodness with you guys, because Star Wars is forever, my friends, and I wouldn't have it any other way. As always, my friends, I would like to say thank you so much for letting me hang out with you as we take a look at some more Star Wars action figure goodness. Now, as for today's video, guys, we're going to take a close look at the very cool, very new Star Wars Black Series 6-inch line, First Order General Hux. Now, this is a very cool looking figure. As far as the character is concerned, well, you know, he might have a little left to be desired as far as what kind of role he had in Episode 7. He did have a really rousing speech, which was very cool. Probably the highlight for him in the movie. Other than that, he wasn't really all that involved too much, which is a little sad to say, because I really want to see what happens with this guy. I was really wondering how this guy, so young, can rise to the ranks of commander for the First Order, being so young. But again, if you know a little bit more about this character, please drop it in the comments below, guys. I really would appreciate that. And, you know, any insight is always welcome, my friends. Now, as far as the figure is concerned, well, you put a guy in a black trench coat, you know, you can't go wrong, my friends. Very, very cool stuff. Now, as always, before we get into the figure a little more detailed, let's take a quick look at the packaging he comes in really quick for you. Now, as far as packaging is concerned, you know, pretty much the run-of-the-mill 6-inch line packaging here. You know, you get the nice portrait of the character right on front. Of course, the Star Wars logo on top. The First Order General Hux in red on bottom. Also on the side of the box as well. On back of the box, a little bit of the text. If you'd like to pause and read that, guys, you get treated to a nice portrait of the character on back as well. And as always, you do have the Disney and Hasbro logos on very bottom. Also, this is number 13 in the series here. Very, very cool. Now, as we take a look at the figure himself, well, you know, pretty cool looking. Pretty cool looking. As far as the character is concerned, well, that's still, you know, I'll leave that up to you guys, whether you like this guy, what role he had in Episode 7 or not, if it was good or not. But, you know, the figure is actually very, very cool. You know, it's going to look great standing next to a couple of First Order Stormtroopers or Captain Phasma, or I should say Captain Pushover. But you guys know what I mean if you've seen the movie. And, or Kylo Ren, so it's going to look very nice. And, you know, it actually is a very nice addition to your Star Wars action figure collection, guys. Very, very cool looking. The head sculpt is nicely done. As far as likeness to the character, well, you know, not too bad, I suppose. I think the hair color is slightly off. I think it's a little more redder in the movie, but again, just my personal opinion. Unfortunately, the hat itself is not removable. It is molded to the head, which is a little bit of a minus, I suppose. It would have been nice if that was removable, but, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. You do have a nice First Order insignia right on front, which is a little off-center on mine, I think. But maybe it's just me. But the head sculpt is actually pretty well done, other than that. As far as the trench coat is concerned, nicely molded. It is all plastic mold here, guys. But you do get some nice detail there, some nice textures. Looks very nice. And actually is removable if you like. You can remove it if you want to. So that's cool. Get a nice First Order insignia right there on the shoulder pad there. Or on the shoulder, I should say. Very nicely done. Of course, you do have more silver paint applications on the left arm there. Maybe showing rank, I suppose. Now you have a nicely painted silver buckle right on the inside. Of course, you have nice textures as far as the inner clothing is concerned. Very nicely done. Again, not too much on paint application since it is all black mold, but still very nice looking. Now, as far as articulation is concerned, guys, you do have the ball hinge header, of course, with some nice array of movement. You also have the ball hinge on the arms, ball joints on the elbows. Now, I wish Hasbro would really consider adding double joints to all the figures on these 6-inch line figures, because it really does make a big difference as far as posability is concerned. But as the case with this one, we just have the ball joint and swivel on the elbows on both, I should say. You also have a ball joint and swivel on the wrist here as well. A swivel on the waist there. Also have ball joints on the legs with that upper swivel thigh. Double joints on the knees, and of course you'd have the ball joints and rocker joints and ankles. Now everything is nicely textured and detailed as far as the legs are concerned. And articulation is, for the most part, pretty decent. Again, I really implore Hasbro to add the double joints on the elbows on all the 6-inch lines, please. And plus, if you can add the cut joints on the biceps, again, it really does make a big difference as far as getting these guys in some really harder poses to get them into. As of it is now, it is decently articulated, but those smaller little adjustments to articulation do make a big difference, in my personal opinion, of course. Now, it doesn't come with very many accessories. Actually, it only comes with one. It comes with the blaster pistol here, which is pretty much the same as the First Order Stormtroopers, all in black mold with some slight silver paint applications. You never really see them use the weapon in the movie, but it is a nice little plus there, and very cool, I guess. Overall, an outstanding figure, and like I said, guys, he's going to look very nice standing next to a couple of First Order Stormtroopers, or whatever you like to do. A nice addition. Can't go wrong. Not really, I would say, a must-have, but, still very, very nice. That being said, thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, please stay tuned. I got plenty more Star Wars action figures to continue for review for you, my friends. Until next time, thank you so much. Have a great day. Happy hunting. And I will see you all very, very soon.